Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Peak. I'm the Region 10 Agriculture Advisor, and I'm based out of Boise, Idaho. This morning, I'm going to talk about EPA's approach to helping CAFOs and AFOs manage manure nutrients in Idaho. However, let me step back a second, because EPA isn't generally known for our technical assistance capabilities, rather our regulatory abilities, and that's what I'm going to talk about more today. However, I'm going to touch on two things that we're doing to hopefully help producers comply with our new NPDES permit for Idaho. Now, as I mentioned, EPA deals with the regulation of nutrients and manure through NPDES permits, or National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits. A CAFO is a point source under the Clean Water Act. Therefore, a CAFO must not discharge unless that discharge is authorized by an NPDES permit. In order for a CAFO to obtain authorization under an NPDES permit, the CAFO owner or operator must either apply for an individual permit or submit a notice of intent for coverage under a general permit. On the next slide, I'm going to discuss the new Idaho NPDES general permit for CAFOs. That notice of intent includes a bunch of information, but I think the most important thing to mention here is that a nutrient management plan that satisfies the requirements specified in the permit and Section 122.42E of the NPDES regulations must be submitted with the copy of the NOIs sent to EPA. In Idaho, EPA recently published a new NPDES CAFO general permit. The previous NPDES general permit for CAFOs in Idaho expired on May 8th of 2017. Because of some feedback we got from the public and industry associations, we took our time to revise the new permit. The issuance of the new NPDES general permit was May 13th of 2020. That permit became effective a month later on June 15th of 2020, and all NPDES permits have a 5-year lifespan. Therefore, this permit will expire on June 14th of 2025. The general permit was supposed to transfer to the state of Idaho, or IDEQ, in July of 2020 as part of the phased implementation of Idaho's administration of the NPDES program. However, on the last slide, I'll talk about why that transfer hasn't taken place yet. Regardless of the transfer, EPA will remain the permitting authority for CAFOs located on tribal lands in Idaho. So that would be any individual permit or general permit on tribal lands, EPA would still write and administer those permits. I just want to highlight the major sections or components of the new Idaho NPDES CAFO general permit. The first section is permit area and coverage. This section deals with where the permit is applicable and who is eligible, how to apply for coverage under the permit, what to do when the permit expires, what to do when there's a change of ownership at a permitted CAFO, how to terminate permit coverage, and what are the requirements for applying for an individual permit. Section 2 deals with the effluent limitations and standards. We split this up into effluent limitations and standards applicable for the production area, as well as effluent limitations and standards applicable to the land application area. I think Section 3 is probably the most important section. This deals with the specific requirements for nutrient management plans, lagoon liner requirements, facility closure requirements, and the requirements for the transfer of manure to third parties. Section 4 deals with records, reporting, monitoring, and notification. So this is all records management associated with the permit. This includes the annual reporting requirements, the notification of unauthorized discharges, the monitoring or sampling requirements for all discharges, whether unauthorized or unauthorized, and what to do if there's any spills or releases of toxic or hazardous substances. Section 5 is in every single NPDES permit that EPA writes, and that's our standard permit conditions. These are general monitoring, recording, and reporting requirements, compliance responsibilities, and general provisions. Now, some of the requirements in Section 5 may not look like they fit with a CAFO, but they are in every single NPDES permit, and they're included in this permit as well. Section 6 is definitions. There's a lot of acronyms and terms in this permit, so we've attempted to define anything that might be unclear. There's also 9 different appendices associated with this permit. That includes the Notice of Intent form, NRCS Conservation Practice Standards, Tech Notes, University of Idaho Bulletins, the Annual Report Template, which I'll touch on later, and the Idaho Phosphorus Site Index. Now, I'd just like to go back to the nutrient management plan requirements because I think that's the most important and the thing that we changed the most in this permit. We tried to be much more clear or specific in this permit about what our expectations were for nutrient management plans. Each nutrient management plan has to have 9 minimum measures. And rather than go into depth about what's in the permit, I'm just going to mention what those 9 minimum measures are. First measure is ensuring the adequate storage of manure, litter, or processed wastewater in the production area, ensuring the proper management of mortalities, ensuring that clean water is diverted as appropriate from the production area, preventing the direct contact of animals confined or stabled with waters of the United States, ensuring that chemicals and other contaminants are handled on site or not disposed of in any wastewater lagoon, identifying site-specific and appropriate conservation practices to be implemented, identifying protocols for sampling of manure, identifying the protocols for sampling of soil, identifying the protocols for land application of that manure, and then identifying any site-specific records to document the implementation of the nutrient management plan. I mentioned earlier that we did a couple of things to provide some compliance assistance for producers or CAFOs that are covered under this permit. The first is we created a fillable PDF for the annual reporting form. Now, the annual reporting form requires a variety of information, including animal inventory, manure, litter, or processed wastewater generated, production area discharges, the crops and yields that were planted, the manure, litter, and processed wastewater that was applied, the result of soil sample and manure analysis, and the nutrient budgets for the year. We felt that a fillable PDF would help producers put the right information in the right spot and would make it much more quick and easy to turn that form into EPA. The second thing we did was develop record keeping and reporting forms for the daily and weekly inspections that producers do in compliance with this permit. Again, working with the contractor, we developed a series of Google Form templates that could be modified by the producer to help meet the record keeping requirements of the permit. All the producer needs is a Gmail account, and that producer can use these Google Forms to fill out their daily and weekly inspection results, which then feeds into a spreadsheet that compiles all the information for the year. Our hope is that these optional forms will help reduce the record keeping burden on producers that are that have coverage under this general permit. Finally, I mentioned earlier that the CAFO permit did not transfer to the state of Idaho or IDEQ, and here's the reason. Shortly after we published the permit in the Federal Register, an appeal was filed in a Ninth Circuit Court by the Snake River Waterkeeper and Food and Water Watch, and that happened on June 4th of 2020. We have an MOA, or Memorandum of Agreement, with DEQ, where we retain full jurisdiction for permits for which an appeal has been filed. Because we still had responsibility for the CAFO permit when the appeal was filed, we will maintain that responsibility until there's the resolution of the appeal. Once the appeal has been resolved, then we'll transfer the authority for the permit to DEQ. And finally, I'd just like to thank everyone for allowing me to give you this short presentation. Again, my name is Nick Peak. I'm the Ag Advisor for EPA Region 10. My email and my phone number are listed there, so if you have any questions or any other issues you'd like to talk about, please don't hesitate to give me a call. Thanks.